The time has come. SOON SHIN Hunter and Destroyer 1 is finally here, and just in time for the largest and most condensed convention of the year. My team and I are now less than 2,500 books away from achieving 100,000 sales. And with this new book in hand, we will get there. Prepare for glory. Over the course of this show, I'm going to sell everything I bring with me. Victory is mine for the taking. Welcome to San Diego Comic-Con 2019. After a year and a half of grueling production work, my team and I finally finished the latest issue of SOON SHIN on July 1st. Looking back on it, I still have no idea how we managed to pull this miracle off at the last moment, because if we were delayed any longer, there would have been no chance we could have gotten this book out on time. Lo and behold, we pulled it off, and I am damn proud of this book. With every issue of SOON SHIN, we are constantly raising the bar. This is why our comics don't come out on a monthly basis like all other comics do. SOON SHIN only comes out when it's ready and not a moment sooner. A few days after production was completed, I had a moment to catch my breath and was enjoying a wonderful 4th of July weekend with my family until I got an email from my overseas printer. He told me that there was no chance in hell that we would get copies of Hunter and Destroyer 1 by the deadline I had set. I was upset, of course, because my team and I worked so hard, and now there was no way I'd have books by the deadline I'd set. But as I've said many times before, every problem has a solution. The next morning I woke up and realized that the printer couldn't meet the deadline that I set, but should have no problems getting books to me in time for San Diego Comic-Con, so long as we were willing to forego looking at proofs. Given that our files are typically the same and that our long-term printer, Call to Print, understood our demands, I felt that this was a risk worth taking and decided to go ahead and get all 5,000 books printed up without seeing or approving any proofs. I don't recommend anyone else do this. That's how risky it is. The only reason why this worked out is because of this guy right here, Apollo Wang. He's the head honcho at Call to Print, based in Shanghai, China, and he stayed on top of everything. He kept me updated and managed to get everything to me just in the nick of time. This is exactly why I chose to do business with him. He gives me a quality product and he always delivers on time. No bullshit. Now, for the first time ever, I would be receiving books in a different city as opposed to my home office in Chicago. It was imperative for me to meet our deadline for Comic-Con, and so I had Apollo send an advanced shipment of books directly from China to San Diego. San Diego Comic-Con is quite possibly one of the most condensed conventions I attend year-round. With an estimated 200,000 people in attendance, it is crucial that I never miss the opportunity to hook new readers at this incredible event. It is also the longest and most draining convention I do all year. For all the people that come to this show, hooking them is near impossible. Because the show floor is so condensed, people are literally shuffling through aisles in order to get to where they're going. Many of these people don't want to be lugging around the stuff they buy for too long either. Therefore, as you can imagine, I had to withstand an abnormal amount of rejection and had to fight for every single sale I got over the weekend. There were definitely times when I felt like putting myself out there was a fruitless cause, but then I reminded myself that I had done this before and just had to keep pushing forward. Normally, before I pitch anyone, I try to make eye contact with them so that I know I have their attention before asking them if I can tell them about my comic. But because there were so many people at this show, it was impossible for me to do that. The way I like to look at it from a metaphorical standpoint is that you're getting the largest, most condensed consumer market in the world in one place for 4.5 days, and their attention span is ranked 0 on a scale of 1 to 100. Cutting through the rejection is the only way to get your sales. Everyone who is exhibiting at this show has something new to present. everyone at the show is overwhelmed, and everyone at the show is tired and extremely irritable. On top of that, the show itself is not the most efficient or well organized. Over the course of the last 8 years that I've been doing this show, I have learned to understand that you can only do it with zero expectations. You only have control over your own actions, as I mentioned in last week's episode, and therefore, my only goal at this show was to sell out. I brought 1,350 books with me, which is a little more than what I brought with me last year, and I just went to work. I kept at it and was pleasantly surprised to see Hunter and Destroyer 1 sell out on the first full day of the convention. This has never happened for a SOON SHIN book before. Once I sold out of that, I knew I could get through the rest of my inventory. The next item to sell out was the Warrior and Defender graphic novel, which was the second fastest moving product I had at the show, as well as the most expensive. After I hacked away at those books, my focus shifted to moving the rest of my single issues, which are cheaper and faster to move, as well as marks. By Sunday, I was left with 150 books, which consisted of 12 copies of the Fallen Avenger graphic novel, 15 copies of marks, and 100 plus single issues. The single issues and marks moved fast, but the last 3 copies of the Fallen Avenger graphic novel took me a long time to move. Fortunately, I was able to pull off the sellout in the last 2 hours of the show, and was so relieved once the job was done. I am beyond relieved that this show is now done, and it has definitely taken the wind out of me. But after looking over the numbers, I realize that I'm now less than 1,100 books away from breaking 100,000 sales. I'm just one convention away from achieving the impossible. It's time to evolve. Over the course of the next few weeks, I'm going to do some restructuring to my convention setup and my overall appearance. I believe doing this will give me a serious edge and will help my presence stay fresh and exciting for convention goers near and far. I can't wait to take you along for the ride, Victory Seekers. See you all next week with a brand new episode. And until then, onward to victory!